How's it going, everybody? Today we're here with a brand new video called The Top 4 Problems with the American Education System. Quickly before I begin, I'm just going to mention that we upload at least one video every week, and if you really want to see more content from us, you should drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment, and let us know. Thanks. And now that that's out of the way, let's get right into this. Now, the first point that I'd like to mention is about memorization and how the standardized testing of school systems is built. Now, in a standard school system today, you are taught a subject for any time period from a week to a month, and at the end of that subject, you're expected to take a test and recall the information, and then you get a placement score from 0 to 100, and that impacts your final overall assessment grade. Now, that's great, except the only issue with that is it's not really teaching you the skill. Teaching a child how to memorize something and recall it a month later is not a very effective way of teaching them a subject. If they really wanted to teach you a subject, they should teach you implementive learning. Now, this is a type of learning where you are given a subject and then given an issue. And instead of being taught the subject and told to recall it, you're given the subject and given the problem and forced to implement it and actually use it in a real world situation. The school system currently is built around memorization, and this is not good. In a real world situation, you're never going to not have access to notes and technology and other things. Now, in school, this is considered cheating and a disability to your learning. This is not how it should be. The fact that you can't use notes on a test really is not a good thing. Standardized testing is a flawed system and typically does not show well in student grades or test scores for students that don't test well. State testing typically has scores that do not show the actual results of the children that are taking the tests. And that's another point I'd like to mention, that testing overall in schools should be reworked. Standardized testing, the way they have it now, is not a very great way of testing. Recall of memory and subjects that you've learned previously is not a great way to implement a final assessment grade. What they should be doing is implementive testing, where they implement the skill into a real situation. The third point I'd like to bring up is about the history subject. And history in schools is very much watered down and altered for the less interested interpreter. And what I mean by that is the less adept history learner, such as the average high school or middle school student, is not going to want to learn all these things. So they water it down to make it as basic as possible and really just shove it into you. And then by the time you're done with the class, you move on, forget everything that you learned, right? But the problem with history classes is they water down things, and they also water down important things, such as teaching about slavery and racism and other things. And they change them in a way that makes it seem like it was a thing that continues and is a racially based thing. Just thought I'd pop in for a quick clarification of what I meant by racially based thing. I meant in the form of that history classes and history teachers make it seem like white people and the white race is very anti-black by nature, and that's just factually inaccurate. And it's not accurate that every white person hates black people. That's not something that's true. But that's what they teach, and that's what I meant by the sentence. I know that it didn't come out that way, and that's my apologies. And another point, kind of going off of this point, is that teaching about these issues is not a negative. It's actually a positive to teach about these issues and go over them so that they don't happen again, and it allows our society to evolve and adapt so that we don't have to deal with these issues and we can combat our prejudices and other things that are being instilled in us by the school, that we can move past those and realize that we don't need to worry about them. I think acceptance is a big thing in history classes. They don't like to accept that things have changed. They want to make it seem as if history classes now that are being taught from the 1700s and 1800s is how it is today. And that is not a very accurate view of the world. And I think that teaching that and then telling you how it is actually today would be a very good way to fix this problem. The next point I'd like to bring up is about kids' futures. And a lot of times in schools, they'll have things like career days or career path days in like 8th and 9th grade. And that's great, and that's good, but I disagree with having them be what pushes you through high school, because once you get to high school, these happen consistently and they're always checking with your counselors, your teachers, everybody is checking with you on your career path. Now, forcing a child who's not even 18 to pick their career path and stick with it and adapt to it is really not a great thing and can very negatively impact their ability to decision make and pick things for themselves. And I think that, yes, it should be brought up to students that career paths are there and that they have them and that they should always be looking into them. But I don't think it should be forced on a 8th grader, for example, that you're going to be a doctor, and by the time you get to high school, you have to take classes that go with that, or you're failing your career path. And now getting to the failure aspect. This is kind of a big one, and I don't actually have a script part for this. I'm going to freeball this and try and figure it out as I go. Teaching children that failure is a problem is a way to break down their confidence and does not set them up for real life. And what I mean by that is, in schools, you're a lot of times given an F through A grade, right? And an F being a fail is the worst, and that will negatively impact your summative grade, which obviously impacts your grade point average and then impacts your ability to get into college, etc. But what I think schools should be teaching is how to fail properly. Now, failure is not necessarily a bad thing. And in fact, I think that failure is a good thing. While failing at certain things can be, yes, negative, I think every failure has the opportunity to be a positive. I'm going to use an analogy that I saw on Gary Vee's YouTube channel. And the way he explained it is, schools strive for perfection. And they would rather have you be 3-0, have 3 wins, 0 losses, a perfect record, than be 150. And he then put it into this. Let's put that in monetary value, okay? Let's say you win $3 and lose $0. You have $3. That's great, perfect record. But the person who won $100 and lost $50 is still more valuable and has won more than the person who won $3. And the best thing that you can teach in school is net success. You shouldn't be worrying about 1 F on your test, because in the grand scheme of things, that 1 F is going to accumulate into more success if you can learn from your mistakes. And that's what schools don't do. They don't teach you how to learn from your mistakes. They teach you that failure is a problem. You should never try and fail. You should always strive for perfection. But perfection is not a real thing. It's an illusion. You can't be perfect. You can be great at something, amazing at something. You'll never be perfect. You'll always have something you can't do. And that's just how it is. And I really think that teaching that failure is okay and teaching how to fail is a great thing, and schools should be doing more of. If you guys enjoyed this video, please feel free to drop a like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below what you'd like us to do next and talk about in the future. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a nice night. Bye.